Hey everybody, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here. Don't forget to subscribe, but let's dive in because everybody's hacking everybody. And that really is what's happening here. Now, if you're a longtime listener and follower of mine, you know that I talk about China quite a bit because they are hacking everybody, and they really are. But we have to be honest here. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. And there was a really interesting write-up on this by Tim Starks of Cyberscoop. And this, quite frankly, is the stuff that goes on around the world. Now, China's National Cyber Incident Response Center is now accusing the U.S. government of launching cyber attacks against two Chinese tech companies in a bid to steal trade secrets. Now, in a notice that they posted this past Wednesday, CNCERT, that is China's National Computer Network Emergency Response Technical Team / Coordination Center of China, they basically suspected a U.S. intelligence agency, which they didn't name, was essentially behind these attacks, and CNCERT says they quote-unquote handled them, according to essentially translations of that notice, because it was obviously posted in Mandarin. So, the U.S. government, as you know, and if you're a longtime listener and follower of mine, have accused China forever on cyber espionage to steal trade secrets from U.S. companies. We've got examples of that, literally verified examples from Apple, from Tesla, from a railroad company. I believe Intel was caught up in that, AMD, et cetera, NVIDIA. This is intellectual property theft is one of the biggest issues we have with China right now. So China's allegations about U.S. cyber attacks are now arriving in the midst of a very public campaign here in the United States, where we are blaming China via the Salt Typhoon hacking group, a cutout of China and Chinese intelligence, to basically be in all of our telecom systems, T-Mobile, et cetera, et cetera. I literally did a segment on this, it's got to be like a week or two ago at this point, where I talked about why nobody should be texting or using traditional phone calls on your mobile phone anymore, because they can be intercepted and captured, especially if you're talking about something, very sensitive, which is why we should be using Signal, and other secure apps. And I talk about that in that segment. So with that, going back to this, CNCERT said that one of these attacks dates back to August of this year against a, quote, certain advanced material design and research unit. Now, the suspected attackers exploited a vulnerability in a document management system to infiltrate the software upgrade management server the company was using, install Trojans and backdoors on more than 270 hosts, again, according to China's CNCERT. Now, the other attack, dates back to May of last year, 2023, against a, quote, large-scale high-tech enterprise, end quote, in China's, and I quote again, smart energy and digital information industry. Again, that's according to CNCERT. Now, the center's analysis determined that the attackers exploited Microsoft Exchange vulnerabilities to get into the company's mail server, then implanted backdoors and took control of devices at the company and its subsidiaries. China has, in recent years, stepped up its charges of U.S. cyber attacks, et cetera, and their report did not name the specific government entity, as I mentioned, that they say is responsible for this attack. But here's the thing. This happens all the time. Everybody is hacking everybody. Intelligence agencies are hacking everybody. And the real question then becomes, what is the intent there? Now, the intent traditionally has been, at least from the U.S. side, more on surveillance, less on intellectual property theft, unless maybe we think it gives us a competitive advantage. The thing that we have is we have two separate frameworks of government, two separate frameworks of laws between China and the United States. As I've mentioned multiple times in multiple segments throughout the years, China has a 2017 law that basically says if you're a company in China and you have information on foreigners, et cetera, that the Chinese government basically gets access into your infrastructure. They get a copy of that data. We have laws here in the United States that essentially allow us legal recourse under a more democratic system that basically says, no, get a warrant. And so by virtue of that, we also know, thanks to the CIA's Vault 7 release about, 6 years ago at this point, that they were developing tools to break into essentially U.S. infrastructure themselves for surveillance. So, for example, Cisco was caught up in that, where they were exploiting, the CIA rather, it was proven that they were exploiting a ton of vulnerabilities in Cisco products, and they weren't telling Cisco about these so that they could obviously keep doing it. So if a Chinese company is buying a Cisco product, the CIA or whomever could walk right in. But conversely, somebody else can discover those vulnerabilities and flaws, which is why we should all be transparent in helping Cisco or whoever, because it's not just Cisco, update their stuff to harden infrastructure for all of us. So I think this is going to be happening left and right. We're going to accuse them of stuff. They're going to accuse basically us of stuff as well. But the truth is, and we got to be honest here, everybody's hacking everybody. And I think that's important. And it really does come down to intent. And if our intent is to steal intellectual property, that would be kind of surprising. And the reason being is it's our intellectual property that is usually stolen. And I'm not saying that as an American. I'm saying that a lot of the innovations that we have seen be transferred basically to China, and there's no legal recourse there. If you're an intellectual property or patent holder here in the United States, try suing the Chinese government over that kind of theft. Whereas here we have a system of framework that is. But again, we're all doing it. So I leave it at that. I'm probably going to get some hate for this one, but I think it's an important thing to understand that there are no innocents in a situation like this. We are doing all of these things, and while we want to protect our own intellectual property, everybody just needs to cut it out. Right? Everybody does. So I don't know if the US government is essentially stealing intellectual property from 2 Chinese tech companies. It's possible. Anything's possible. Is it probable? I'll leave that up to you because I don't quite frankly know. And so by virtue of that, I think it's important to understand, is this just rhetoric from China because we've caught them red-handed and so now they have to say this, or are we actually doing it? Either way, everybody's hacking everybody. And I'll leave it at that. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP, where we're going to get hacked by some intelligence agency somewhere. I don't know, Zimbabweans, whoever. Same with YouTube. I'm also on Blue Sky now. And don't forget Mastodon. I'm also on Mastodon for like the 6 of you there. So with that, thank you very much. And stay safe, stay online, and please attempt to stay private, even if it's from your own government. Take care.